What is going on, guys? MMA Island team, we got the fight picks and we got the co-main event of the evening. Bryce Mitchell with his camo shorts. Shout out Reebok, and I've never said that throughout their time at UFC, but shout out to Reebok. Finally, dude gets his camo shorts, and he's taking on Andre Fili. Really impressive performances out of both of these guys in their last few fights. But I will pass on to Zach to start us off.
So, talking about really impressive performances, Bryce Mitchell, he had a revelation of a performance against Charles Rosa. Now, Charles Rosa, if you do not know, is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Bryce Mitchell made him his son. He demolished Charles Rosa on the ground. And Bryce Mitchell's way of grappling is just so fun to watch because this man is never not going for crazy submissions. Like in the Charles Rosa fight, he attempted like 20 twisters and like 30 arm triangles. It was one of the most glorious things I've ever seen, and it really shows of how dominant his grappling is. Now, on the feet, we don't really know how good he is. We know that his striking is more than serviceable, but it has to be to fight Andre Fili because Andre Fili's striking is pretty damn good. His nickname is Touchy, and he can touch you with his strikes. He lands at a pretty high accuracy, and he has a decently good volume as well. But if this fight goes to the ground, this fight is a wrap because Bryce Mitchell's crippling ground game is going to be way too much for Andre Fili. I feel like his submissions and just the way that he grapples is going to overwhelm. I think that's the best word to really describe it. Overwhelm. Mitchell's grappling, it's so hard to deal with because you're defending one thing and then you immediately have to defend another thing and then you have to defend something else. And during that time, you're not thinking about how to get up. You're just thinking on how to survive. And I think Bryce Mitchell can easily bring this fight down to the ground if he wants to. And that's the thing. They are kind of, I would say Fili has the advantage of the feet, but it's only slightly. Meanwhile, the differences on the ground are vast. We see what, I believe Fili's a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well, but there's levels to black belts, as Michael Bisping said. There are levels to black belts. And we saw what that means. And with just dominating Charles Rosa like that, it's so hard to pick against Bryce Mitchell right now, especially in this kind of matchup. And I'm going to have to go with him. I feel like this is one of my higher confidence picks on the card. I believe he's going to be able to take Andre Fili down to the ground, bend him to his will. And actually, I think he's going to get a submission this time. I think he's gonna get, you know what? I'm going to call it. He's going to get an arm triangle. Second round.
I thought you were gonna go say twister.
That's boring. That's boring for Bryce Mitchell because you know he'll try and get that. Second round, arm triangle, Bryce Mitchell. If I get that right, y'all owe me $1,000. Anyway, passing it on to you.
Well, maybe I matched the hype because I'm going to be going with Bryce Mitchell as well. I said Brian because I'm reading Brian, but I'm going to go with Bryce Mitchell. The reason I'm reading Brian is because I was just looking through the Sherdog here, and that's the only loss he's got on his career, or amateur career, against Brian Tidwell, and he actually got submitted. Did Bryce Mitchell? In early, obviously in his amateur career, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Bryce Mitchell coming in with his camo shorts, taking on Andre Fili. Man, so a lot of things to mention here. We saw the split decision against Charles Jourdain for Andre Fili, which was really, really good fight, and I picked Andre Fili to win, and I picked him to win after I watched the fight, and he gets the win there. Also talking about Bryce Mitchell, man, you mentioned it. The domination against Charles Rosa. I think Bryce Mitchell might be one of my favorite fighters to watch right now, just because I'm a ground game lover. And obviously, there's different types of ground fighters. Bryce Mitchell, and this is my favorite thing to tell people: this combination of differences in ground game. Bryce Mitchell's a ground fighter. Khabib Nurmagomedov is a ground fighter. Totally different styles. Khabib Nurmagomedov's the type of guy to take you down and beat the crap out of you, and maybe if you can look for a submission, he'll do it. Bryce Mitchell's the type to take you to the ground, and he's going to look for every single submission transition possible, because that is what he does. And that was shown against Charles Rosa. Looking for the twister 2 times in a row, I think that's the loudest I've screamed outside of a fight ending sequence I can remember, because that just looking that he's getting it, like the twister. The twister submission is one of my favorite submissions, not only because of how rare it is, but just the steps to it. Just that
Yeah.
isolating the leg, just making sure one you're underneath your opponent for to some extent, and then having the arm behind your own head, pulling on it, twisting it, and torquing your hips. Man, I love every single step to the twister. It's just a fun process to watch. And Bryce Mitchell with Charles Rosa, I was watching every single thing he did, and he did almost everything perfectly, and he almost got the twister, and I would have lost it if he got it.
2 straight twisters would have been incredible.
Insane, like absolutely insane. That's unheard of, not only in UFC but probably all MMA. 2 twisters in a row, man, crazy. That would have been absolutely insane. But I would assume he goes for it again against Andre Fili, because 2 fights in a row, who knows? So I think you're right. I think he can get a submission victory against Andre Fili, and I think he'll probably get it done via rear naked choke, just because that's pretty what he primarily gets, outside of triangle chokes maybe. But I'm thinking he's able to get a rear naked choke victory over Andre Fili. I think Andre Fili's been submitted via triangle choke before, but I'm gonna go with the rear naked choke. So 2 times has Andre Fili been submitted. And I think on like standing up, honestly, people are kind of sleeping on Bryce Mitchell standing up, at least because out of the 4 fights in his career, 59% accuracy, 58% striking defense. Not only is that more accurate than Andre Fili, it's also better striking defense than Andre Fili. I'm not going to say that Bryce Mitchell is a better striker than Andre Fili, because obviously Fili's got the power, probably a little bit more technical and is able to mix it up a little bit more. But accuracy and defense wise, probably the stats say it goes to Bryce Mitchell. Thing is for me, man, is that we've seen Andre Fili want to take his takedown game into his takedown game into his fights, and we saw it, I think, in the Jourdain fight as well. But I don't think that's the move here. I don't think you want to go anywhere close to the ground with Bryce Mitchell. And I think Bryce Mitchell's going to be able to get the fight to the ground, and also survive standing up, and maybe even put some damage on him standing up. But I like to see this fight go to the ground because, as I mentioned, Bryce Mitchell, one of my favorite fighters to watch when it goes to the ground, just because I love the transitions. Uh, for whatever reason, I don't know why. It's just my brain is hardwired to see somebody in a certain position and transition to another. And when my brain picks it up when I'm watching the fight and I see he's going to transition to this, then they transition to it. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to watch when it comes to ground game and BJJ in general. So Bryce Mitchell, I want to see his show put on, and I think he's able to do it. I think he's able to get the win. Zach agrees with me. Do you guys agree with me? Make sure you guys are letting us know in the comments who you guys got. We got a unanimous decision here with this one. So just my point is, man, make sure you guys are just letting us know who you got. We got the co-main event of the evening with the main event. We have yet to talk about it, man. It's a good one. So make sure you guys are checking that one as well. Liking the video, subscribing to the channel. Make sure you guys check out the other Fight Pick videos.